Let's go! We ready? Woo! Let's go, baby. Dummies for sports. Here we go. Three, two, one, and we're on. I did 3, 2, 1 twice. 3, 2, 1. All right, guys. Let's move ahead. The way we're currently standing, preseason is in 24 hours, something like that, a little more than 24 hours. This is pretty crazy. Yehuda just brought to my knowledge a few minutes ago that, in fact, the first Hall of Fame, first preseason game is tomorrow night, which is crazy. It's very early in August, especially considering there's only three games of the preseason nowadays, but because they have that 1 week in between. So it used to be that the last week of the preseason was a week before the first game of the regular season. Now it's 2 weeks before the first game of the regular season. So I guess that's why. So we're very close, man. So we're almost halfway through the league. So let's do it. Let's head up to the NFC North. How are we feeling about this, Yehuda?
It's exciting. I mean, Aaron Rodgers leaving the division, and I apologize for my voice if I don't sound as nice as my normal sultry self, but Aaron Rodgers' division leaves the division wide open, even though they didn't even win the division last year. But it always just kind of felt like Packers are always big players. But yeah, it's a whole new ballgame now.
Agreed, and that's a great way to lead it off with the new division favorite to Detroit Lions, and their over-under is 9.5. Like you mentioned, the darlings of the division. This is the team that's going to be the fan favorite for everyone. Now, the Lions are, they have a lot of talent on the offensive end. They added pieces to the front seven. There's the one big question mark. It's Jared Goff. Detroit fans, for some reason, have this thing that it's like Jared Goff is the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't know where they got that from. He's been a very average quarterback his entire career. You know what you're going to get from him. He's been the entire thing throughout his career. So it's 9.5. I pulled up an interesting stat over here. So if you look at Jared Goff's PFF grades over the last 5 years, it reads as follows. 75, 84, 72, 71 the last 6 years. 75, 84, 72, 71, 60, 72. Very middle of we're talking 15 to 20 range in terms of quarterbacks over that span. That's what he is. This is not a man that's going to do anything special. He doesn't have a crazy arm. He doesn't have crazy athletic ability. He's very inconsistent. But he can get the job done if you put pieces around him, which is exactly what they've done. So it's a great roster. It's an average quarterback. In that division, the division's getting, it used to be Aaron Rodgers' division, right? And it no longer is, which we'll get to soon. But I'll go over the 9.5. It's the Lions are the favorites. The Lions are the new favorites at NFC North. I'll be darned, Yehuda.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Johnson, their OC, has done such good things to make Jared Goff the best quarterback in the world, obviously, according to Lions fans. But he has really maximized Jared Goff in their offense, and they are going to miss Jamal Williams. Yes, Jamal Williams. He is on the Saints now. He scored 1 billion touchdowns for them last year, and he was such a fun, exciting locker room presence.
I had him in fantasy. Yeah. And the worst thing about him in fantasy was that he got he rushed for 20 yards every game. But every other week he got a touchdown. So it was like the week he didn't get a touchdown, he scored 3 points for you. So I'm not going to start him this week. And then the next week he gets a touchdown. It was very frustrating.
Yeah, but. Of course, that's how it works. But he was so awesome for the team, and they're going to miss him. So someone else is going to score touchdowns. But their offense is really humming. It's for me, it's the defense, and that's the big question. And I actually think that. I think you don't like Jared Goff at all, but he analytically he does rank pretty well.
I never said I didn't like him at all. I just said he's overrated. I think Lions fans have this picture of Jared Goff that he's like a Matthew Stafford type of guy. That's what they think of him, right? He has this crazy upside, but he's also got the downside. No, he doesn't. He's never had that crazy upside. He's just a very pedestrian average quarterback, which with a good roster like the Lions is fine. They can win 10 games. I'm not against it. I just don't think he's that good. That's it.
Analytically, he's the top 4 in DVOA, and he was really good. I think he was like number 2 in like long downfield throws or something.
His numbers were inflated a little last year because number one, he had a lot of turnover luck, a lot of balls that the DBs didn't catch, linebackers didn't catch, and that inflates your passer rating because passer rating is heavily influenced by how many interceptions you throw, how little interceptions you throw. So a lot of stats were inflated by the fact that he had a lot of turnover luck and other factors, the scheme and everything. So yes, if you look at traditional numbers, I agree with you, but I think. Overall, he's 15 to 20. That's why I put him.
Traditional and analytic, because the scheme is still there. Like Ben Johnson didn't go anywhere. He's still,
Well, that's why I'm saying
you
they'll
know,
win 10 games.
yeah,
I'm just saying Jared
right,
Goff's not the
and
right. Right.
yeah, right. He's not top 10,
Correct.
and
That's
I'm not going to argue with
that's
that. And I hope
correct. Correct.
that's your point. Yeah, not going to argue with that. They have a very tough test opening with Kansas City, but they should. Oh, they're playing the Ravens. I didn't even realize.
Oh, because
And
that's the same place team, right? They're the
yeah,
second place, so the Lions are
that's
second
cool.
place.
That'd be a fun
What
game.
happened last time the Lions played the Ravens? You remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, Justin Tucker.
You remember that?
He should put a house in Detroit. I was there actually.
I
That was
know.
very
Oh, right, you
that
were
was
there. That's right.
that was unreal. But their division, they're playing the NFC South, and that is not a good division. So they should be able to get a few wins there. Their division as well. I don't think the Bears are going to be super good. They're in a rebuild, and the Vikings. I mean, we'll talk more about the Vikings, but 9.5. Even though this seems to be the team that has everyone's their preseason darling, and like Detroit is like they're known to let you down. I'm going to say over 9.5, but I'm nervous about that because like we said, Vegas knows what they're doing, and I could definitely see a scenario where Detroit goes 9-8, still maybe wins the division, but that would be just under. But I'm gonna have faith, cross my fingers, that they're gonna get to 10 wins.
Agreed. It's a concerning pick as well. And when you look at the next one, the Vikings, the Minnesota Vikings come in at 8.5, exactly where you'd want to put the Vikings. That's exactly where the dilemma starts. If you put the Vikings at 9.5, I go under. You put them at 8.5, now I'm not sure what to do. Right? It's like 8 games. Can they get to 9? So what's going to happen with the Vikings? So just to take a broader look at this, last year the Vikings had one of the worst defenses in football, despite a top 10 pass rush. You bring in Brian Flores for to ramp up the defense this year, and hopefully they also had a lot of injuries on the defensive side last year, so they'll get some key players back. You bring in Addison alongside Justin Jefferson now, so you have two big playmakers. He was like a top 20 pick, right? Top 25 pick. So. Right? He's drafted high in the first round. So the point is that you have two talented players like that just to bring a little attention off of Justin Jefferson. Thielen's not there anymore, so you sort of have to you need that type of decoy type of player, and Addison should certainly prove to be that from what they've said in his highlights in college. He looked terrific. So obviously to add that talent to the offensive end, there's no question that they have the explosive playmakers and the quarterback to win 9 games in this division. Absolutely. Kirk Cousins' thing is just, again, you know what he is. He's the same thing as Jared Goff, just 5 spots better. Let's put him on the rankings. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much what it is. Like, if you're going to put Jared Goff in 15 to 20, Kirk Cousins is a constantly 10 to 15 his entire career. Good quarterback, maybe 8 at times when he peaks. So he's a good quarterback. He's a good player with good playmakers. Their defense stinks, though, and they got really lucky with a lot. It's so bad. And even though they're getting some players back this year from injury, they got so lucky just winning 7 or 8 close games last year. That was the difference between them winning the division and losing the division. And yet they won the division by landslide. So I'm going to predict that the luck will come back to bite them this year, and they'll actually get under 8.5.
You said 7 or 8 close games. It's actually 11. They went.
I was being generous.
Yeah, you're joking. You're like, 7 or 8. So,
right.
11.
That's remarkable.
Ridiculous.
That's remarkable.
It was ridiculous how they just happened to be winning by the skin of their teeth and just winning these one score games. If there was 8 points or 3 points, 7 points, and you said the argument would be, that means that they're a good team. They know how to win. No, it's not mathematically likely. And everything you said about regression,
Agreed.
it is. I 100% agree. It is. You don't go 11-0 in one score games in one season. That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's so statistically unlikely. And all year, a lot of people were calling them frauds. And they were down the Colts 33-0 at one point, and then they had to have the greatest comeback in NFL history to beat the Jeff Saturday Colts, which is that's. You shouldn't be in that position. You should be able to handle them easily. But going to that playoff game against the Giants, I was like, we're going to be in a close game, and it's going to come down to the defense or Kirk Cousins, and they're not going to be able to win because they're going to run out of luck. That's exactly what happened. They couldn't stop Saquon, and then Kirk wasn't able to make the play at the end. And so, again, the regression is going to cost them. Brian Flores will make the defense better because he is an amazing coach, and they have to get better from whatever the heck they were doing last year. 'Cause they were playing like basic, like high school level cover two, cover three stuff that like any quarterback, in 10th grade can figure out. So the NFL quarterbacks, they can figure it out with enough game planning. So the offense is still going to be scary with a Jefferson and now Addison. We'll see if he can be a good complement. But no Cook, and we'll see if Madison can step up. But 8.5. I mean, they have to play the AFC West, and that's really where I think they're going to lose because they're probably going to go 1-3 in that division, and then go like
0-4.
3-3.
0-4.
Three. Well, against the AFC West.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, they're not losing to the. They're not losing to the Raiders.
They'll lose to the Raiders. Should I make the same prediction I did last week? Lose to the Raiders.
What?
They'll beat one of the other three.
Oh, lose to the Raiders and beat the Chiefs, right? Like,
I didn't say that. I said beat one of the other three.
yeah. Yeah, and then they have to play like San Fran, but they have a little bit of like these tough games where they're playing like Denver and the NFC South and Atlanta. But I'd still probably take like Atlanta. They'll probably beat Tampa, but like these are toss-up games. So 8.5 is it's tough. So I see Minnesota as a 7 or 8 win team. So I will go with the under as well with you, and I'll agree with you.
Interesting. Didn't see that one coming. So I'm
Yeah.
okay. So the Detroit Lions come in at 7.5. I'm gonna let you go first in this one. I mean, no. I mean, sorry, the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears come in at 7.5.
Yeah.
We did the Lions 9.5. They're all very
Yeah.
close. So the Lions are 9.5, Vikings are 8.5, and the Bears and Packers are both 7.5. So let's start with the Bears. Chicago Bears 7.5. I'm gonna let you go first in this one. I've been back and forth. I'm not quite sure where to fall, so I'm gonna give you the floor.
Right. They're going to get, like, they're playing Kansas City, like, they're going to get waxed by KC. They'll probably get waxed by, they're at Kansas City and at the Chargers. They're going to get obliterated. I mean, they're going to, the defense should be a little better because they just sold off. They sold Roquan, there's full fire sale last year, which is the right thing to do.
Yep.
For the rebuild. But they got TJ Edwards, and they lost David Montgomery. And it's funny because he actually joined Detroit and to switch Jamal Williams, so he's staying in division. But they signed Tunyon for the Packers, so maybe that'll give us another security blanket. Him, Cole Kmet, who I don't know why he just got paid a lot of money for. I don't know. He must know a guy. He just got a ton of money, and he's not very good, but whatever. Good for him. And they have to. These NFC South games, like those teams are like they're such similar levels, like the Bears in Atlanta, the Bears in New Orleans, the Bears in Tampa. Like they should be able to beat like Tampa, but then the New Orleans game is kind of a toss-up, but probably take New Orleans. And at least they have one guaranteed win. They will be playing the Arizona Cardinals. So they should win that game.
But you have the same dilemma within the division too. Like even the in division games, NFC North, they're all such average teams. So it's like who's going to beat who?
It's funny because they actually played the Bays back to back. They have Green Bay and Tampa Bay to start the season, funny. And that's really interesting. Week 1, the first time the Bears fans are like, we're finally free from our owner Aaron Rodgers. And the first week of the season, they don't even have to wait. And that's just first week they get to play Green Bay.
It's funny.
Without Aaron Rodgers. So it's a whole new, I could see all the narratives for week 1. They're like, it's a whole new world. It's a whole new reality for the Bears fans that they don't have to play Rodgers. But I feel like they're still probably going to lose. But 7.5 just seems too high. 8 for the Bears. You said 7.5, right?
Yeah.
Once again, for the Bears to get to 8 wins, I see improvement, right? They only won like 2 or 3 games last year. To get to 8 wins, I don't see. I see them getting 5 to 7 wins, and so I'm going to take the under in 7.5.
Okay, so after hearing your assessment, and thinking it over, I agree with you, but I'm still going to go over because 2 of these teams need to go over, and I like the Packers even less, which I'll get to in a second. But my problem, the Bears improved through the draft, traded for DJ Moore, improved on the offensive line. You have to assume Justin Fields is going to take some sort of step as a passer. he has with that prolific running ability. So they were really bad last year, even with Justin Fields running all over defenses, which is not very encouraging, right? When a quarterback runs that effectively, generally you win more games. I mean, you look at the Ravens with Lamar Jackson in his rookie year. He came in, they won 6 out of 7, right, in those 7 games he played, and he was not a particularly good passer that year at all. He had a 45 passing grade, I think, those first 7 games. So it was all his running ability. And Justin Fields came in and was a similar weapon, not quite as good, but a similar type of weapon, and yet it was underwhelming. So that's what discourages me. But I do think they did a good job building the roster, though it's a work in progress for sure. I'm still, because I need 2 teams to go over here, and I don't want to pick the Packers. I'll rely on Justin Fields taking a step as a passer. I'll rely on the improvements to the roster, and I'll pick the Bears to go over 7.5.
He's I'm sorry to cut you off. He's the 34th passer. Okay, he's below guys in DVOA. He's below guys like Justin Fields is. Like Matt Ryan, Baker Mayfield, Carson Wentz. Like, he was such a bad passer. Like, obviously, we hope he's going to take a leap, but, like, he was so bad as a passer.
I'm banking on him taking a leap. I completely agree with you. I have not been impressed by his pocket passing ability at all. Like people like to say he took a little bit. I think he took a little bit of a step in his second year. Meaning the high upside throws were there. For example, in his rookie year, he had like that Monday night game against the Steelers, where everyone's like, oh, maybe this guy can throw, because he brought them back in the game, made some nice throws, and he showed sparks of that in his second year, more so than he did in his rookie year. But you're right, it's still been underwhelming. He's one of the worst in terms of starting quarterbacks, from a pure pocket passing perspective. He's been one of the worst throughout the last couple of years. But that running ability is so valuable. If he can just take a little notch up and be a slightly below average passer, we're talking about an extremely dangerous player. So I'm banking on that for the Bears. But I completely agree. It's you're relying on something that hasn't happened yet. I agree.
Yeah. And it's so funny. It's like playing out right in front of me. It's exactly what the Ravens were going through and what Ravens fans are going through. And I saw like a video as a joke meme video where they're calling Justin Fields the running back, which it's disrespectful.
Same thing.
But same way they were doing it to Lamar. He was like, Lamar's like, okay, thanks, Justin. Like, you took the heat off of me, because everyone calls Justin Fields the running back, which is still, it's annoying when people do that. But whatever, they want to get their jokes in. So.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, that's it. Yeah, I agree with that. Fine. So let's move on. Packers at also 7.5, and the reason that I picked the Bears to go over 7.5, like I said, is because I'm predicting the Packers to go under 7.5. And the reason I'm predicting the Packers to go, yes, I know, Jordan Love, his 20 snaps last year, he looked like Joe Montana. 20 snaps he played last year against the Eagles, right? It was that game against the Eagles. So he looked really good, but I think Jordan Love started a few games prior to that, and he was awful. So I'm not necessarily going to put all my bread into that basket, into that one start. And that's really what it comes down to. They don't have a lot of good receivers, as was indicative last year. Rodgers is very frustrated. Finally, Watson, toward the end of the year, he started to build some chemistry with some of the rookie receivers, but obviously, as a whole, it was not a great situation. So they don't have any proven receivers. Any receivers that prove that they can, create space down the field, run past the defense. No talented receivers at all. Talented receivers, but no one that's panned out so far. And they have an unproven quarterback that's has a short track record of mostly bad, some good stuff. So I don't know. It's just it doesn't. There's nothing there that tells me that I should go over. Another factor here, by the way, is that Aaron Rodgers is very good at manipulating defenses, and therefore the offensive line a lot of times it looks a lot better than they actually are. They never invested a great deal of money to the offensive line, but it was manageable. It was always a top 15 line simply because Rodgers knows how to get the ball out quickly when he needs to. He knows how to make the defense, keep the defense on their feet, think that he's doing one thing and really he does another thing. There's a lot of deception involved over there, and Jordan Love obviously doesn't have that. So the offensive line should take a dip also. That's an hypothesis really, but it should take a dip also. And again, just especially on the offensive side, I don't see enough going for them to win 8 games. That's it. So I'm going to go under.
That's a very interesting point for you to say that the quarterback is actually affecting the offensive line play. Usually it's the other way around.
Well, I would say when it comes to Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and those types of guys, there could be something to be said about that. Yeah,
that's cool. The reason why I'm going to take the over on 7.5 is because, I mean, obviously I did say the under on the Bears, and it's just the Bears seem to be building in the right direction, but I think they are still in the rebuild. Like, it's possible for them to take a massive jump like the 2019 Ravens did, because the Bears have all the same questions. I feel like the Ravens are probably in a little better place defensively than the Bears are right now. But the Packers are just such an average team. Like, their defense is a little below average. It's 20th in DVOA, so it's a little below average, but a lot better than what the Bears were. And so I expect the Packers to be around there, about average, maybe a little worse, and not do anything special. Like you said, they don't have a lot of great receivers. But Jordan Love has an 82 QBR, and that's pretty solid. His regular season, he had a 112 passer rating. Like, he had, he was solid. Is fine.
24 snaps,
Yeah, no, right. Like 21 passes.
So right, exactly,
so maybe,
20, whatever it was, right?
Obviously, Jordan Love would have taken Aaron Rodgers' job if he was setting the world on fire. But in the other sense, Aaron Rodgers is also playing MVP level, so you can't get rid of him to start a guy who's like, yeah. So obviously, he's sort of unknown, but I'm going to trust him to be just an average enough for this roster for them to squeeze past those Denvers. They have the Rams, and then just like the atmosphere of Lambeau and the culture of Lambeau. Obviously, their culture right now is losing the divisional round or the championship round, not making it to the Super Bowl. But like the Bears have literally never had a good quarterback since Sid Luckman, right? The Packers have had two Hall of Fame quarterbacks since the early 90s. Like, they've been so blessed with amazing quarterback play, and like they seem to fall into these amazing quarterback. Not that Jordan Love is on their level at all, but for them to find 8 wins, instead of the Bears finding 8 wins, I trust them to do that, even though they seem to be as average as the Bears, if not, maybe a little better. But I'm trusting them to beat like Vegas here and LA, and maybe steal a game or two from Minnesota. But all these games, like you said, in division are really going to matter, and that's what it comes down to. It's like, do you think Packers or the Bears? Whoever's going to split those or sweep that, like,
Exactly.
That's going to get them to 8 wins.
That's it. That's a deciding factor.
And I just trust the Packers, and I think they still have Aaron Jones. He's going to be their number 1 receiver basically, but they have Christian Watson. Like, he's made some plays. So these guys, if they can all put up 700-800 yards and 5 or 6 touchdowns, like, you spread the ball around, they could be solid enough to get them to 8 wins.
Yeah. No, listen, it's all these teams are a toss up. So I got to run in a minute, but before we end, we're predicting division winners. We're both going to go with the Lions, I presume.
Yes, we are, but that makes me nervous because
the Lions to win a division, I'm pretty confident in that.
I know. That's what I'm saying, and that's what everybody's saying, and that makes me nervous.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's the Lions, man.
I'm going to say Lions, but I'm going to be like, oh, because like the Vikings randomly won 13 games last year.
I know. Well, the Lions have the best roster in the division. There's no question, but that doesn't always translate to winning the division. Yeah. Correct. I agree with you.
The Vikings are the best player. They have Justin Jefferson.
Well, that's fair enough, right? and he's a receiver. Receivers can be game changers. We've seen that. They can win a few games. So, it really is a big difference. Fine. We'll stop it there. NFC North, baby. Thank you for joining us along this journey of predicting the win totals for every team in the NFL. Remember to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Until then, take it easy.